Hey there, YouTube. So, back again on the ramp truck build. This build kind of got put aside while I did the FJ9 and doing some stuff to the Westmade Peterbilt Ratrod. Reason that is, this is going to be a lot of work. This is a massive project. This much 3D printed stuff to work with, it's just going to take some time. But I have started the body work. I started by gluing the cab together. It was in the hood separate, the front separate, the fenders and the core support, or the firewall are separate, and the back of the cab are a separate piece. And I just glued those together using a 2-part epoxy. Works pretty well for me on 3D printed stuff. And once that dried for a couple days, I gave it an extremely heavy coat of primer. And let that dry for a couple days. It was very thick. And then I started working it down with, I think, 120, 180 grit, somewhere around there. And got it pretty smooth. I didn't primer again after that. I'm trying to keep the layers down. There's still a few areas that need a little work. But I think like the fenders and the hood's coming out really good. So I went ahead and hit it with this maroon paint. This is not a red oxide primer. It's supposed to be gloss, but I think it was too humid when I painted it. And the can I've had for a while, so it kind of came out of satin, which is fine. This is just one of the base coats on the patina I'm going to do. And so the next step on this is going to be wet sanding. I'm going to try to keep smoothing everything out and layering colors on top of that. I think the next thing I'll do after I wet sand this, I'm going to start trying to fill in the seams where the pieces are glued together. It didn't come out completely flush in some, and there's a little gap up there. Things like that. So I'm hoping that my Tamiya putty's still good, and B, that once I sand those smooth, that it will actually look like Bondo spots as I keep working colors over it and sanding it down. And you know, this is going to be, it's a Ratrod ramp truck, so you've seen it. I've done a couple nice shiny paint jobs. Had to get those out of my system so we can get back to the rust and weathering. So I'm going to take this thing to the sink, keep the talking to a minimum on this video, and I'm going to wet sand this and we'll come back. Alright guys, so spent a little time sanding it. I used the 180 grit and I used water to sand it. So I call it wet sanding, but it's not typical of the wet sanding process because you're still using a coarse grit. I just like it because I'm trying to see what's coming through, so I like being able to rinse off as I go. And you know, keeping it wet, you can just kind of move it around under the water and see what the finish is looking like, and B, if there's still any problem areas that are popping through. Had a few things come through that I hadn't seen before, like this print mark here, but it's pretty well smoothed out now. And the hood's looking excellent, where the seam and stuff on it is coming together nicely. So I've just got a few spots. I'm not going to go crazy trying to fill the gap all the way down. A couple spots like that, and at the bottom where it just didn't sit flush, and you know, you get a little bit of distortion from printing. And I've got the same thing mainly there. Other than that, the front seam came out excellent. There was that rear cab wall that had a few gaps and a little bit down there. So I'm not too terribly worried about it, but I am going to hit it with the Tamiya putty and try to fill them in. Hopefully that stuff will dry fast so I can do some more today while I got time. Alright guys, so here's where I'm at. I got the Tamiya putty in and it has dried. Sanded it smooth. It's not perfect. It's supposed to be patina, so I'm not worried too much about it. Some of the imperfections in the print up here, that's a very common place for these trucks to rust, so I think I'm going to try to add some real rust detail on it once I get some more paint. Now, I haven't decided yet what color I'm going to do next. I'm going to do my typical process where I've got it to this, and then I'm going to paint it a solid. I'm considering doing two-tone, but I'm not sure yet. I need to look at some pictures online and see how these old body styles were broken up in two-tone. And I'm thinking, because this is like a heavy truck, it's going to be a ramp bed, so it's going to have been some different things in its life. I painted the hood yellow, the same yellow I did the Amigo. Just the base color. I'm going to wet sand it. I went ahead and did that since I didn't have to wait on it to dry, or I rinsed it off after I did the putty. I didn't have to wait on the hood to dry, so I didn't put any putty on it. It does need a filler in one spot now that I've got a solid color on it, but I'm going to wait and sand it down again and see how it looks. But yeah, my typical process: do another color, wet sand, start getting finer and finer grit with every layer of paint, and then we'll decide from there whether we go with two-tone or not. I just did the yellow on the hood because it will later the yellow will pop out, but it'll only be on the hood and it'll look like it came off another truck or something. So yeah, I'm gonna go hit this with something and we'll see what it looks like. Alright guys, so at this point I'm getting ready to wet sand, and up until now I've been using what was it, 180 grit, pretty coarse stuff. So now it's gonna be time to step it up. I think I've got some 600 and 1000, and I'm gonna start trying to bring through less and less and just keep more of the color. I do plan on putting the teal, what is that, Satin Lagoon. It's the color I used on my old Land Cruiser. I'm putting that on the hood over the yellow, but I'm going to go ahead and sand that down with a finer grit. There are some scratch marks and stuff on the hood from sanding, so we do need to smooth that down, and then add the next layer on that. I'm not sure if this is going to be the final color or not. I just got to see how it wears, see what shows through, and how it goes. So I'm going to get it in there and start sanding. Folks, so that took a while. That was at least an hour and a half of just sanding away. I did a good bit of it with some 600 grit that's just worn out. I really got to buy some new sandpaper. I had some pretty fresh 1000 grit, but it just wasn't enough. So I ended up just going through with the what was it, 180. It's the only thing that would really tear it down. The yellow paint is the Tamiya paint, and I highly don't recommend that for trying to make patina, because that's a very hard finish. That is a way more solid finish than any of the Rust-Oleum and Krylon, like regular spray paints that I typically use. And I had a hard time getting that to sand through. That is some solid stuff. So if you ever wonder why a little tiny can of Tamiya paint costs as much as a big can of the stuff at Walmart, it's good paint. But for now, I am going to go ahead and move forward on the body, because it is raining outside and I can't really do anything spray paint wise. So what I'm going to do now is, I've got my silver paint pen. I'm going to paint accent stuff. I'm going to paint the door handles, the chrome spears on the side, and I'm not trying to get perfection or anything. I'm also going to take my blade and I'm going to cut into the door edges, where the seams that I want to be there. I need to, after all the sanding and layers and layers of paint, they filled up a little bit, and I don't want to lose that. I want to dig them out a little bit so that when we add the rust streaks, it gets down in there and really adds the depth back that we need to make those features pronounced. So that's not going to take too terribly long, but I'm going to do that off camera, because this kind of stuff just doesn't make for good video. You can sit there and watch me do it in high speed, but it's kind of boring. So we'll just skip ahead, and here's what we got. So I got the few little details. I did some silver and black around the windows, did door handles and the side moldings, and I also did some black in the headlights. I forgot about the grill. I don't know where I put that. I had it out kind of playing with it around the shop, trying to get some ideas. So we've got a lot of body work to do on that, so got a long way to go still, but I'm going to go ahead and do the AK rust streaks on this, and also this Awesome Designs Ratrod grill I've been painting since I've been doing this. I've had those for a while, and I figured I need to go ahead and get some paint on them and try out some new colors and stuff. So I'm not sure yet on the hood what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to paint it the same color as the truck, and we'll just go from there. But yeah, so let's see what we get. Alright guys, so here we are. I went ahead and did the hood. I'm not 100% sold on it yet. I may do another layer of rust later, the rust streak. It's a little still a little bit too bright, so I don't know. But the body, I love the look. The way I was worried that satin lagoon, it's kind of a green blue flat color. I was worried it was a little too bright, but man, it really looks the part. And I like how you can't really see it as much on the front. Just there's some spots on the doors and the way the roof and stuff come out. I'm pretty happy with it. So next step for this, other than maybe redoing the hood, is to figure out some kind of windshield, windows, headlights, and I was looking at the grill that comes with it. It's a grill bar with blinkers, and I don't know, it's kind of a Ratrod thing. I would like to maybe come up with something different, make something with some teeth in it or something, you know, kind of old school. So I'm taking my time on this build. I'm gonna keep my eye out, see what I can run across, look at old vintage toy trucks and see what kind of pieces they have. Where is it? I've got some, you know, I have all those Tonka trucks, and they're way too wrong a scale for it, but this is a piece off of one of those. So I know it's a Ford grill, it's a Chevy, but there's a lot of stuff like this out there that's semi-generic, that looks real and would be metal, so we could do real rust stuff with it. So I'll spend some time and do some eBay searching and get some measurements off of that and see what might actually work. But let me show you some other angles. I've got those tires bolted to an axle. Those are the 155 RC 4-wheel drive dualies on the 155 dirt grabbers. Those are about the smallest tire I can find in a 155, other than going to little tiny, to me, M series type tires, which are just too short, won't look right on a truck with duals. So I think that's what we're going to go with. Those have custom lug nuts on them, and I got to find some kind of scale hub that'll fit in there, but I like the stance, I like the look. The rust streaks, I forgot, it's like, almost like a wood stain. It smells like a wood stain. It stains your hand like a wood stain. And the stuff I put on, all the tester's paint, the chrome held up better, but all this enamel, it starts eating off of it. So like the windows still look good, door handles look alright, but like the spears on the side, they're almost completely gone. I was smearing the rust streaks in, and I found chrome back here that had come off and just gone with the brush. So don't think I'll come back and detail that. It's still got a hint of chrome. You can see a little bit of reflection in the light on it. I think it's enough. I'm not gonna push the issue. The grill, or the hood emblem, is large, and I'm not sure yet what I want to do with that. Like I said, I can't just come over it with the silver and then rust it again. So I don't know. The hood, I may end up, it did crack part of it where I glued, because it was two pieces. So I've got a small crack right here that let go. So it's going to have to be re-glued. I may try to sand that off the front and just make it smooth, give it a more custom look. But I don't know. We'll see how this all looks. I got to let it dry for a couple days because this stuff is a slow go. It's starting to lose its sheen, but it's still long from being dry. Let me show you the other angles of it here. There's the front. I like how the recesses in the grill right here, it kept some of the color more noticeably than the rest of it. It would typically not weather as bad there because it is tucked up under the headlights, and it has would have a grill over it to help protect it. So you can see a little bit of primer, a little bit of rust, a little bit of the color. It's a good blend. Yeah. Yeah, that hood emblem is gigantic, so I'm not sure yet. You can still see some of the print grain in it, where the rust streaks kind of get down in there. And not sure about that. And as far as headlight lenses, I have no idea. They're smaller than like your standard axial or Tamiya round lenses. So that may be a challenge to find something that would fit that. But not saying it can't be done. There's the driver's side. It came out pretty good. I did smear a little too hard on the passenger side. That's where I started at. And yeah, I had to come back and add some more. You saw in the video, but I think it came out pretty balanced. You don't want them to all be identical. It's nature. It's supposed to be random. But this one, after I realized I was smearing the chrome off of the side spear, I went a little easier on this one, and there's a little bit more of it left, so looks the part. That gas cap, that little gas cap back here, is the biggest pain in the butt to this whole project, because you're trying to sand around it, trying to fill the seam around it, trying to paint around it. It's just in the way. I almost cut it off at one point, and I was going to try to make some kind of metal gas cap, but I'm glad I didn't, because it fits. So I couldn't hide the seams. I tried filling them and stuff, but it would have taken me another few weeks of daily primering and sanding, and then I would have probably lost the door lines completely. I did come back with the X-Acto blade and kind of dig out the door lines, and in some spots up here like that, they're almost gone. So really, you figure out more precise. Got little small squares of sandpaper, and put an extra 6 hours of bodywork in it over the course of a week. I could have hit them better, but I just don't have that much patience. Doing what I've done is about as far as I can go, and I like it. I'm happy with it. I know some of you folks are tired of seeing rusty stuff, but that's what I like to do. When it comes down to it, this is my build, my channel, and I like the old stuff better. I did the shiny paint jobs the last couple weeks, and they're too stressful. You mess something up, you just go over it again and try it again. It doesn't matter. That's the whole kind of spirit of the Ratrod thing, is just built with what you got, drive it, bash it, fix it. It just, you don't have to worry about leaning against it or jumping on the hood. You just pound out the dent and keep going. But let me spin you around to the back. I didn't spend as much time on the back. I did the back of the roof and the top edge pretty well. The rest of it I didn't really worry about. And also with sanding, I left a little more color, because obviously being up next to the bed, the paint's not going to fade as bad. But having that giant ramp bed, it's wider than the cab, and it sits up about this high, so you're really not going to see that. So I didn't go the extra mile on that part, but it still came out pretty good. I'm happy with it. It fits the bill. Doing the windows, this has a wraparound window on the back and the giant one on the front. That is going to be a chore, but we'll find a way to do it. This kind of stuff, it's fun just to experiment. I experiment with different colors. We'll see how it turns out. I didn't have any plan going into this. I just going through spray paint. I've had a large shelf of spray paint for years, and some of it's going bad, so I needed to start using some stuff. So I just kind of went wild with it, and we can make something out of what you got. But anyways, be sure to check me out on Instagram, RC Everyday, Facebook page also, RC Everyday, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Keep it scale, and I'll see y'all in the next video.